as an African culture, let me thank the entire Agrf team and Secretariat and the Agrf as an organization for the entire support they give us in the Ministry of Agriculture. Agrf has always been a strong partner for the development of the agricultural sector in Tanzania. What I mean when I say the African continent need to complement each other instead of competing, it's a very simple principle of economics. It's a principle of comparative advantage. Who has what can produce in a more efficient and effective way compared to who. If you tell me now, example, in Tanzania, according to the scientists, they tell us we have a different over 90 type of agricultural produce. If I have $1, where should I put that $1, which will create more multiplier effect to the economy? Because the bottom line is not about agricultural activity, but how that activity will help someone, a smallholder farmer, a small enterprise in agricultural business, make more money. Because this is about business, this is about wealth creation. So instead of African continent, everyone is producing rice for himself or herself, everyone is producing maize, everyone is producing beans, everyone is producing what? The issue here is the African continent and leadership of Africa should complement each other and allow the trade routes that if I produce 1 kg of maize at $1, if you tell another country now to produce 1 kg of maize at $2, that means the cost of the $2 is high. It's better to buy from another African brother and sister for the crop to reduce the cost of the production. So the complementing each other is a vital and it's the way to go to make the African continent competitive at the global stage.
Thank you so much, Honorable Bashe. Dr. Kalibata, I come to you. This is the 13th edition of the forum. You've spoken about the opportunities for Africa. Please just highlight what are some of the outcomes we expect and the impact eventually for smallholder farmers.
Listen, we have a major opportunity in the Agrf to bring communities together. Whether it's private sector, we just launched the D-Room, which D-Room looks at how businesses can mobilize financing, the challenges, but also the opportunities that are sitting in there. The public sector role, USAID, for example, just put on the table $4 million to facilitate women businesses in the D-Room. And what that means, just to give you a sense, Mama Sek in Iringa got $15,000, and now she's running a business that is over $500,000. She's exporting to neighboring countries. So when businesses get this type of support, when we come together to think about some of the challenges that businesses need to overcome to be able to move forward, that's one of the things we are looking at. But really, at the big picture, from a big picture perspective, we live in a time when climate change has become extremely important. Yes, again, 2 days when I was going to Iringa, they told me to take a sweater, except there was no need for a sweater. It was extremely hot. So what we know and what farmers know as the climate that gives them food has completely changed. Part of what we must talk about here and some of the actions we need to see from all partners coming together is action against climate change and action to help farmers cope and action to ensure that our food systems can continue to produce. I mean, we have to say this enough times for people to know that our world has changed. And if we don't cope with this change, then we have a very serious problem. So I hope that we can take that message and really start working on it in ways that can transform the sector. Lastly, Again, it's about building partnerships, and in a month or so, the whole world will be coming from now. We are coming from Nairobi, where the climate summit is happening, and we will be moving to United Arab Emirates, where COP28 is happening. We need to continue saying no. I mean, we've left this to civil society, but we need to continue saying no to the fact that if we don't contain what's happening from a climate perspective, we will not be able to feed ourselves. We have to contend with that fact. Why should anybody feed us? We don't need anybody to feed Africa. Africa has huge potential, but you can't feed yourselves if you don't have water. So I really want to make sure that we do understand that as a voice, as a continent, there are certain things we can take into our hands and be able to deliver, but we also expect the rest of the world to do their part in ensuring that Africa continues to thrive. We can build on the trade the ministers talked about. We have trade corridors that are waiting to be functional. Why are trade corridors easier with the rest of the world and very difficult within Africa? We have 17% of inter-Africa trade. When you go to Asia, it's 77% of inter-Asia trade. What does that tell you? That we are not buying rice from Tanzania, we're buying rice from Vietnam. That we are not buying maize from Tanzania or Mozambique, we are buying maize from Ukraine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with buying food globally. But the biggest wrong thing here is that we are buying food that we can produce. We are buying food that our farmers can produce. So we ask ourselves where poverty is coming from, where we don't create jobs. That's why we don't create jobs. So I think the wake-up call here is, can we start looking at what we can do and what we can do together and start strengthening this sector against environmental challenges, but also to ensure that it can give us enough jobs for our young people. So,
thank you, Dr. Kalibata, and really strong messages both on collaboration and complementing each other, and also the need for us to really put our thoughts together towards action. I'll come to you, Dr. John Ulimwengu. Congratulations first on the launch of the ASSR. This year's one is about empowering Africa food systems. So please give us, just in short, so that we have time for the press, a summary of the key findings and what that means.
Thank you. First, thank you to Agrf for the opportunity to lead the drafting of the report. As you all know, the report this year theme was Empowering Africa Food System for the Future. The idea was to really focus on where Africa should be in the next 10, 20, 30 years when it comes to food system. And we all expect the food system to be sustainable. So the issue of sustainability is highlighted in the report. Sustainability, why it's not only about producing healthy food, but we need to produce it in a way that we are taking into account the next generations. It has to be healthy. That's very important because of the link between nutrition and health. We know many of the diseases now are linked to nutrition. People say that the first layer of good health is good nutrition. So it's not just about producing for producing, but producing a healthy diet. That means that from production to processing, storage, distribution, all the way to the consumer table, we maintain that healthy standard. That's very important. But it must be for all. It must be inclusive. No one left behind. This is very important. So it must include the dimension of poverty, inclusivity in terms of youth and women as well. So that's the target. That's the forward-looking that I mentioned that this report takes into account. Now, the report, in addition to the stock taking that we did, because, as I said, unless you know what you are recovering from and where you are recovering from, it is difficult to find your path to recovery. So we took some time to assess Africa food system. And you heard many of the questions, and I guess even His Honorable the Minister asked is, what is that food system? Like for Tanzania, what is it? So that's what we did in that report, at least for Africa as a continent. We do have some country specific. So we took a more than 100 parameters and map up the food system from access to input all the way to consumptions and see where are the point of failures, the point of strength. Because it is very important, Americans used to say that if it's not broken, don't fix it. But you need to know if it's broken or not. Because sometimes we allocate the limited resource that we have to the wrong places because we don't know. So that's the highlights. But for every issue that we highlight in the report, we look at it as an opportunity. Opportunity to grow, opportunity to do better, opportunity to, as the theme of AGRF, opportunity to recover, to regenerate and act for each of. And then the report also highlights two main drivers of hope. We call them the drivers of hope. One of them is the trade agreement. Again, going back to the issue of how African countries need to help each other. I mean, imagine that 80% of processed food consumed in Africa is produced outside of Africa. That doesn't make sense. And since 2016, under the Malabo, Cadef Malabo commitment, they pledged, the head of state pledged to increase, to triple intra-Africa trade by 2025. So three times what it used to be. But what the agreement, the free continental trade agreement has done is really to boost that commitment and make sure that it's happening. And if it happens, we want that food systems, every component of the food system to be part, to leverage on that. So that's very important. And of course, the other channel of hope is the demographic dividend, which some think it's a ticking bomb. But in the report, we take a different view, a more positive view, that when you look at the people coming 800 million by 2050, when you look, this is a huge human capital boost for the continent. And of course, also on the demand side, it's a huge demand boost that the food system, Africa food system, can leverage on for its transformation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we start on a point of hope, and I give the floor now to the journalists for their questions and answers. I understand we've got very limited time, so I will cap the questions to 6. Please state your name, your station, and who you're directing your question to. Karibuni sana.
Yes. Oh, no, this is fine. So my contribution is, wherever we do all these arrangements, it is very important we consider the inclusivity of the people. We are talking of African countries complementing each other. We are talking of African countries trading to each other. To go away from the 17% only, we need to involve the people of Africa. And when I'm talking of the people of Africa, it includes the farmers, people from the business community, and all stakeholders. Now, what do I want to say is, kindly, these programs has to involve the media, because it is the media which will take all these good plans to the people. So it is very important we have very strong interventions on how we do strategic communication to make sure that these good stories and the African narrative is well articulated to the people, and they become part of the journey. Thank you so much.
Maybe what I could say from, you just raised a very important point around how the media can support this process, but also the stakeholders we need to ensure that we are all working together. No single stakeholder can deliver this. In this forum, you will see that we have parliamentarians. They are here because they are very critical to the debates that advance policies in the agriculture sector. So today is actually going on. We have a farmers forum so that we can discuss, have an opportunity for farmers to engage with other people. We have a private sector forum. We just came from the D room. Yesterday we had a women's forum, and we will have more. And tomorrow, on Thursday, we have a youth forum. So part of why we have all these is to ensure that we are helping everybody recognize their place and role in the food system, number one, but also their voice. Make sure that they understand that their voice counts. It's not just that we ask them to act. We are also asking them to be very clear around what the needs, the gaps, and the challenges are, so that when we act, we are acting on the right thing. So thank you for raising that point. And again, it's the place of the media to make sure that the critical issues that come to meetings like this are recognized.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kalibata. And in the spirit of inclusivity too, please feel free kuuliza swali kwa Kiswahili if you need to. There's a question at the back, name, media house, and who you're directing your question to.
Thank you. My name is Daniel Kijo, representing CGTN, SABC, and I've been doing media and journalism for about 20 years. And the inclusion of youth has always been a theme. And yet I'm happy that Madam Dr. Kalibata also said there's a youth forum. But yet the participation is not as it should. So what is missing? Is it the youth find agriculture something that is not for them? Is it like Mr. Msigwa says, our communication isn't relatable to youth? Because Africa has so much potential when it comes to youth and power and all this workforce. But yet it's only recently that we're really seeing a few pockets of young youth who are doing big things in agriculture. So what needs to be done? What needs to change in the way we can truly galvanize enough momentum from the youth of Africa?
Maybe I take that to you, because you have the BBT coming up.
Thank you, Kiyo. One is, for a very long time, the agricultural narrative in Africa did not show much attraction to youth. We can call it as the communication issue, but I think also it was a policy framework. We were discussing agriculture like just a way of life. We were just discussing agriculture as a component for putting food on the table. We forgot the most crucial aspect of the wealthness and wealth creation. And that has always been a problem I'm a graduate from university, from Zega. The entire family had 10 acres. We are 8 members of the family. What I used to see is some few bags produced in that land and put it in the store at home for us to eat. So the narrative of agriculture has always been surrounded with lack of wealth creation. So that did not attract youth. That's number one. But number two is that most of the institutions and policies and even governments, we always make youth like a group of people that we think when they graduate from the university with their certificates, that's all. But if we get someone from Europe, I'm sorry to take this example, you arrive there at TIC, you find a very big office called Investment Center with a package of incentive. And when he arrives with a briefcase, we prepare even a coffee for him or her. But our graduate from University of Dar es Salaam, we tell them on the podium, especially we politicians, you are a graduate, go and find a job. So that has always been a problem. But another crucial aspect was the capital. If you are a journalist, just go and do a comprehensive analysis by yourself. Let's take an example like World Bank. Take the total portfolio of World Bank on the agricultural sector and look how much of that share came to Africa. So the Africa agricultural narrative was done from the top to the bottom to make sure the agricultural sector is somewhere just meeting the basic needs and eat and the like. And I was joking with even your country rep, Viana. I said, my friend, if you don't turn around the narrative of nutrition, connecting it with wealth creation, the food basket of this country is where we have a huge problem of nutrition. So the issue was the narration of how we narrate the agricultural sector. That has always been a bigger problem and failure for all institutions, international and local institutions, understanding that agriculture needs investment, it's a wealth creation, it needs proper policies. There is a popular word on the agricultural sector. How can we help smallholder farmers? Smallholder farmers don't want your help. Smallholder farmers want proper policies, proper infrastructure for them to do their business. That's the bottom line. And that's the reason why youth don't go into agro. But I can see there is a lot of promising, there is a lot of effort now on the narration on how we consider the youth involvement into agro, designing the scale, because it's a very weird thing. When we define smallholder farmer, the first thing coming to the mind when you sit with the professionals in the ministry, they tell you, you know, wakulima wadogo. What is that wakulima wadogo? What is the definition of wakulima wadogo? Is it 1 acre? Is it 100 acre? Is it 200 acre? What is that? Is it $10? You see, tuwasaidie. Wakulima hawataki kusaidiwa. Wakulima wanachokitaka ni kupata haki ya mgawanyo sawasawa wa rasilimali za nchi. Close your eyes, fikiri leo uko hapa Dar es Salaam. Mkulima wa Tanzania kila mmoja aamue kuzalisha begi moja la chakula cha nyumba yake. How much is the Ministry of Finance going to get to spend to buy food from outside? If every farmer produce what saves them at their household, and they continue with other things. Because the narration has always been a problem. Understanding that agriculture is a business, we need to respect the business principles. The issue of nutrition will come later. If we sort out the issue of poverty, Agnes was talking about environment. Yes, we must protect the environment, but protecting the environment sustainably, we must fight with the one bigger problem, and that is the poverty. I'm a farmer in Nzega. I'm busy November, December, January. February, I get my 5 bags, I sell. The remaining 8 months, what I'm doing? I'll look around. There is a trees here. Let me just cut, prepare charcoal, and take them to town so that I can make money. But if we put money on the infrastructure to these smallholder farmers, they become busy throughout the year. They will protect environment automatically because they know the value of the environment. Kwa hiyo ndio sababu kubwa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Bashe. There is a question on this side of the room. We'll come next to you, and then the last one.
My name is Sigori Paul from Uhuru FM Radio. My question is directed to Honorable Bashe. But may I ask in Kiswahili? Okay, thank you. Kwanza nianze kukupongeza sana Mheshimiwa Bashe kwa juhudi kubwa unazofanya katika sekta ya kilimo. Umeanza kuwavutia vijana wengi ambao walikuwa wameonekana wameshakata tamaa na kuona kilimo kama ni sehemu ya dhahabu. Lakini kutokana na juhudi zako unazozifanya, umeanza katika eneo dogo ambalo unalofanya sasa hivi. Lakini bado vijana wengi ambao kwa mujibu wa sensa population, vijana ni wengi zaidi kuliko watu wengine, na hawa ndio nguvu kazi kubwa ya taifa. Lakini nini mikakati sasa ambayo unaifanya kuhakikisha kwamba vijana hawa wengi ambao wamekwenda kwenye sekta ya usafiri na usafirishaji, kwenye mabodaboda na wamachinga, na wengi sasa wanakimbilia mjini, mikakati ambayo utaifanya sasa ili warudi kule kijijini waingie katika sekta ya kilimo? Lakini wakati sisi tulikuwa tunasoma kilimo, tulikuwa na somo linaloitwa science kilimo. Sijui na uhakika kama sasa hivi bado lipo. Lakini nini mikakati sasa hii sekta ya kilimo, serikali na wizara yako ya kilimo iweke mikakati zaidi kuanzia shule za msingi, sekondari pamoja na vyuo, ili vijana waanze kupenda kilimo wakiwa huko chini, ili vijana waanze kupenda kilimo wakiwa huko mashuleni, na pia wanapomaliza masomo yao waingie kwenye sekta ya kilimo, wajue faida ya kilimo, kwamba kilimo kinaweza kikawatoa, kilimo kinaweza kawapa maisha bora zaidi. Nini mikakati hiyo sasa kuhakikisha kwamba serikali inapeleka mkazo zaidi katika masomo ya kilimo kuanzia level ya primary schools mpaka vyuoni? Asante.
Nashukuru. La kwanza umesema kwamba tumeanza kwenye eneo dogo na population yetu ya vijana ni kubwa katika nchi yetu. Hiyo ni sahihi kabisa. Safari yoyote huanza na hatua. Na tumeanza program ya youth kwenye agriculture. Kwanza swali la kujiuliza, je, wapo vijana wanafanya shughuli za kilimo kabla hata ya program ya BBT kuja? Jibu ndio. Wapo. Je, wanafanya kwa skeli inayotakiwa? Jibu ni hapana. Sasa tumekuwa na different levels za program ya vijana kwenye kilimo. Moja ni hii ambayo ni maarufu sana, tunaisikia, tunaiona, na mimi nawashukuru wadau wa maendeleo ambao sasa wameanza kuelewa. Mwanzo ilikuwa haieleweki. Ukiwaambia tunaenda kuanzisha block farm, wanakuambia you are distorting environment. Sasa unawauliza how block farm is distorting environment? Kwa nini usisubiri uone block farm model yetu ikoje ndio useme? Sasa tunao hiyo, lakini tunao kundi la pili. Kama mnakumbuka mwezi wa 8 mwaka huu, kwenye 8/8 Mheshimiwa Rais alilaunch program ya visima kwa ajili ya wakulima wadogo. Priority ni youth and women walioko kwenye sekta ya kilimo. Kwa hiyo serikali inachokifanya, tunaenda kuwachimbia visima, tunawapa tanki ya lita 5,000, tunawapa irrigation kit ya ekari 2.5. Kwa hiyo priority ni hiyo. Lakini second level ni kuna vijana wanafanya shughuli za value addition. Je, shida yao ni nini? Sio passion anayo tayari kwa sababu anafanya. Shida yao ni mtaji, anaupata wapi? Kwa serikali tumeanzisha what we call grant and soft loan scheme. ambapo tunawapa mkopo kupitia mfuko wa pembejeo kwa riba ya 4.5%, na tunawapa grace period kwa ajili ya wao kuweza kufanya shughuli zao. Kwa hiyo wanafanya shughuli zinazohusiana na shughuli za kilimo kama kuchakata mazao, kufungasha mazao, kuongeza thamani. Tumeanza hii pilot na tunaifanya. Lakini component ya pili kwamba swala la elimu zamani ilikuwepo shuleni, yes, sasa kuna kupitia mtaala na vitu namna hiyo, serikali inaliangalia hilo. Tuna believe kwamba swala la kilimo litarudi kwenye mtaala utakaokuja, lakini unaweza ukamfundisha mtu na kitu kuna mtu kafundishwa kuwa bodaboda. Kuna mtu alitangaza njooni kuna fursa ya bodaboda. Hamna. Wakiwaona wenzao wanapata fedha, maisha yao yanabadilika, vijana wenyewe watademand. Kwa sababu hatuwezi kusema kwamba ni lazima tuwafundishe kupenda kitu. Tutawaonyesha fursa, swala la kupenda litakuwa ni jukumu la kwao. Watakapomwona Msigwa wametoka naye chuo kikuu, wamemaliza pamoja, Msigwa akarudi Songea, akaanza kulima, akavuna, akapata soko, akapata fedha, akaanza kubadilisha maisha yake. Yoyote anaenda chuo kikuu wa kijijini kwa kina Msigwa atataka kuwa kama Msigwa. So this is the direction ambayo serikali tunataka kufanya. Population ya nchi yetu zaidi ya 70% wako chini ya umri wa miaka 40. Na ukichukua wastani wa umri wa Mwafrika ni miaka 20. Wastani wa umri wa Mtanzania ni miaka 18. Kwa hiyo kwenye wastani wa umri wa Afrika sisi tuko chini bado. Yaani umri wetu sisi ni miaka 18 wakati wastani wa umri wa Afrika nzima ni miaka 20. Kwa hiyo tuna a very young population kwenye nchi yetu. Na this is an opportunity. Changamoto tulionayo wa Tanzania na wa Afrika wote ni moja tu. Ni uamuzi wa Afrika kukubali kukonfronti mifumo ya fedha duniani. Mifumo ya kupata mitaji. Ukitaka kupata mtaji leo wewe, labda tuende we go to a World Bank today. I'm from maybe US, I'm a large scale farmer, I go to IMF or IFC or anywhere. He's from Zimbabwe or from Tanzania. The first thing they will look him as a risk. This is how the international and the global financial institution look the African continent. And this cannot only be changed if the African continent decide to unite. In 60s up to 90s, the fight of the entire African continent was for political freedom. Now, has to be the second liberation of this continent. And that can only happen if each and every one of us in Africa decide to complement instead of competing. Why should I put more money on soya while Zambia they are producing efficiently and effectively soya? Why I should not put my dollar on rice, whereby I can feed Uganda, I can feed Kenya, I can feed South Sudan and make more money, instead of starting now tilling the soya. But when you list the international platform, they will all tell you, you should put priority on soya. When they come to my office, I tell them that's not my priority. My priority is to scale out rice, scale out maize, scale out beans, scale out horticulture. Kwa hiyo youth will only go to agro if they see it is attractive and there is money.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Bashe. We will take the last question because of time. Sir, the last question.
Oh, thank you. My name is Deo Salufu from TBC Taifa. First and foremost, I just want to congratulate you for a well job done, because you're trying your best to commercialize agriculture. Nowadays, even youth are so much interested in agriculture.